All right, and welcome. Hi, I'm Josh Sharp, and today I've got with me Lucy McNulty, and we're going to discuss what does it take to work with corporate clients and build your coaching practice. I know that there's a lot of coaches and consultants out there that they think they have to go through the one-on-one model, and they spend a lot of time developing a website or working on social media and doing this this long sales traffic generation funnel. But what if you could just go to a company that already needs this type of work and already needs the skills that you bring, and just get one client that's going to allow you to work with a multitude of people. So that being said, I've got Lucy with me, and she's an expert in working with clients and doing role play and teaching them communication skills and all sorts of stuff. So first off, just thank you for being here, Lucy. I greatly appreciate being able to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you for having me, Josh. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So so first off, just tell me a little bit about what's kind of your story. Like, how did you get started working this route, working in the corporate environment? Was this something that you intended to do, or what kind of happened here?
I've always worked in a corporate environment. I worked in the IT industry for a good number of years in my previous career. Worked as a sales executive, account manager, latterly in the city, looking after one of our biggest retail banks. And then I moved into the internet practice that was just started, and when the internet was at its infancy, as a commercial manager there. And I did that for about a year. And then when I had my second child, that was the time to step aside and to start focusing more on my family and the lifestyle that we had. Because I'd been going to work, leaving at 6:30 in the morning and getting home at 7:30 in the evening quite often. And my husband, who I work with now, was setting up what became the performance business. And in 2001, that's when I joined and started working with him. And the niche of our business is face-to-face communication. It's how to make the most value for companies out of face-to-face communication. So that's whether that's in terms of presentations, right through to the conversations that you have around a coffee machine. It all matters. And it's making sure that people are effective with their communication at all times and can sustain that.
Wow. So why the performance biz? Like, how did that?
Well, the name.
Why did you pick that as? Yeah, like why in the?
Gosh.
Why take that route with how the business went?
Well, my husband was an actor at one point.
Oh,
okay. And so what we really did, we were combining the two skills, the arts-based profession and the work that I'd done in terms of sales and communication and working with people in the corporate world. So the combination of those two skills was sort of knitted together. So that's why the name, the performance, it comes from the arts, and it's also obviously aligned to improving performance in business. So that's the name. And we started off. We were doing role play, we were doing presentation, and personal impact coaching was the beginning of it. And it very much lent itself to the fact that we were working with actors. We still employ several actors now. They have to have the business skills. They're not just not just an actor, but there's very much the stage performing actor, and there's the role play actor, and they've got different skill sets. So we work with role play actors still. And that's where we started off very much promoting that route of using the arts in the work environment, and it's become quite mainstream now. I mean, It's not a fad. It's here to stay, and it is just it's a skill that people need in business to be able to communicate well.
Right, right. And how do you bring your coaching skills into that as well? Like the coaching training, and how does that play a role in the work that you do?
Yeah, I started. I did my first coaching diploma in 2005 in the UK. It was not with RMT, but and that was really to support the role play work that we were doing, because it's all well and good to be able to do the role play piece, but we found that more and more people wanted to get, I guess, additional value out of role play, rather than it just be an assessment or to just sort of look at where we're at today. They wanted to be able to develop that and start to coach people from where they are now to where they want to be. So in order to support that, I started to go down the journey of the coaching. And as I say, I took the first, I did a business performance coaching diploma and a life coaching diploma in 2005. And that gave me, I guess, enough understanding so that we could then start to have a framework for coaching that our role players could use, so that we can provide a consistent level of support and coaching when we're talking to our customers. So, I've gone around a bit of a long chain of thought there, but yeah, it was just to support the role play.
Okay, cool. So I find it very fascinating. I mean, I think it's really interesting. You know, we had a conversation before, and I was like, really, you do that kind of stuff, and it really started to make sense to me and tie things together. So. Let me go back to the impetus of this, and you were saying that it was really when you had your second child, and it sounded like there was some of a necessity now, like things had to change. You were working 12 hours a day, including travel time and commuting, 12 hours plus. How, when you made that change, how did you plan how did you start thinking about your life differently at that point? Like what was the thought process that you had at that point?
Yeah, it was a terrifying leap, I have to say, because
yeah,
really, you know, because I've been in the IT industry for 15 years, so it was a big leap of faith to do it, and I remember when I left work, I went there with tears streaming. I'm leaving, and gave them my letter. I think it was my husband and I decided that this is what we wanted to do for ourselves and for our family. And as I say, my husband had already been doing it. He'd built it up for a period of a year, and he actually said, look, if we can survive the next 6 months, will you make a move? And I said, yeah. So I guess that's really what happened. That's what happened. We got to that time and we'd survived. So I made the move, and I do remember being absolutely terrified and looking at the diary, which was empty, and saying, "Where's the pipeline?" Because in corporate work that I was doing, there's always a pipeline. You always know what you're working towards. You always have a pipeline. And it was the very scary thing to think, I don't know what's coming through next week. But I had to there was a big mind shift for me to change from pipeline to, really people would book us next week I need role players, or 2 weeks time I need role players, and it was that short. And so that was the first sort of leap of faith. And I've got used to it now, and I'm quite chilled on that, and I think, when things go quiet, I go, well, I know it'll come round, and it does. It just always does. But it's still quite a short pipeline. It's because a lot of our work is in assessment centres. We work in assessment centres quite a lot, and that has a very short time frame, because if they go through an interview process and then they need to be assessed, so they'll suddenly arrange assessment centres at short notice. Training, we get a little bit more notice with. If there's a training course, of course, that's booked in advance usually. So that was the biggest shift, I think, for me, was to just think, oh my gosh, it really is that make or break. Is it going to happen next week or is it not? And it does. Yeah, it has done so far.
So it was letting go of a lot of certainty to be able to make that jump.
It was letting go of all certainty. Yeah, it really was. It was a huge leap of faith. And I was walking away from a very, very good position that I had. So it was a tough one. And then, I had my little family, so I was able to focus on that. And when things did get scary, I could just sort of focus on, right, let's do playing with the kids for a while and not worry about anything. So that was a good diversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good diversion. Because there's not an awful lot you can't worry when you've got kids. It's just you can't, because they
you pick that up instantly.
Yeah, so that was quite good for me, because I was able to just go, this is all very scary, but right now I'm going to read this book with my child, and so that was I guess kind of helped me to hold it together.
Mm-hmm. So what were the decisions that you made in terms of prioritizing? Because I think a lot of people, the mainstream culture gives us the idea that, or at least we're taught that, get the job and then you can do this, or find the money, then you can do this. And it's always that piece first. So what was the process of making changes to go, I want to put my family first, or I want to put my lifestyle first, and kind of talk a little bit about, like, what's your lifestyle like today? Like, what's a typical day like for you now?
A typical day? Did you say, Josh?
Well, I guess it was kind of a two-part question. It was more or less like, what was the decision to put your family first, and decide, did you sit down and go, okay, here's how I want to live. Here's the life that I want to have X, Y, Z, the time here, I want to be able to do this. And then you found the job? Is that kind of how things work?
It wasn't totally spontaneous. It was quite well planned, I think. As I say, my husband had already sort of started it, and I was working, so he was around working from home. So it happened over a period of time. I wouldn't suggest anyone just sort of switches off all access to anything and just start from nothing.
Right.
As I say, he developed it to the point that we could survive before we both joined. So yeah, it is a leap of faith, but it's a sort of calculated leap of faith as well, that says, okay, we've prepared enough to make this an achievable goal. So when I did what I do remember doing, and we are going back a little while now, but Mike and I, we had a mind map that we put together, which I've probably still got, on a big A3 thing, and it was all colours, and this is what we want for our family. It was very much about what we want for our family and what we're going to do to make that happen. And it included where we wanted to live. Where we were living at the time was a nice house, but it was quite small, and working from home, we had a shed in the garden, which was a bit tight. So we also planned for, and we're going to move into a bigger house, and we're going to do. It was all on the plan. So we had the big plan, and whilst we didn't then backtrack from that plan and have every bit of the milestones worked out of what they were going to look like. But we had the strategy, and I
You had
think
the vision. You had the vision of
yeah,
where you want to go.
yeah,
Okay.
and in having that, and that was very much based around family first. You know, what's our family going to look like? What does, you know, what do we want for our family? And then everything was around that and in support of it. Yeah, and that, I mean, that was what we did, and we kind of just sort of went with it from there, and everything then fell into place.
Yeah.
It really did. I say it fell into place. What we did was we looked for opportunities to allow for it to fall into place. So we, you know, we were looking for a year and a half for a house to buy, a project actually that we wanted. My husband was looking for a year and a half, just keeping his eyes open. There was no big rush, no urgency. We just kept looking, you know, and then we found the house that we're in now. So that sort of thing, we just sort of made sure that it was there on the radar, just waiting for it to sort of pick something up. And so it's sort of, and then things do happen and they do fall into place when the time's right.
Have you ever gone back to that mind map? Have you ever revisited it and looked and updated it, or looked at, you know, what did come to pass? Like, did you get what you set out to do, or?
Yeah, we looked at it a few years ago when we moved in here, and that was sort of 4 years after we'd done it, and a lot of it had come through. I must admit, it was only just talking to you that it's sort of come back to me. I would have dug it out before this interview if I'd really thought about it. I'm sure we've still got it. It has come to fruition, I think, in the main. It's a very good way to focus on a joint vision. Probably something that we is high time to start and do again. Actually, we're probably at the time where it's, you know, we're ready for the next big vision. In fact, I've got one here that I've done. Ooh, hold on. That was the last one I did. That was a.
Oh wow.
Let me see it. That's a work one,
Wow.
and that's starting to come through as well. And it's really a brain dump of all the kind of main ideas and focuses and things that we want to do, and where we want to go with work. So that's what I'm using at the moment to steer me particularly forward in the work of the performance business. So that's the corporate one at the moment.
That's really cool. I mean, that's giving me some ideas. Like, I just think there's a lot of power in aligning your ideas. So like I'm engaged right now, and you know, my fiance and I talk about a lot of stuff, and we're partners in everything. We do a lot of stuff together. And we have done something. We do stuff similar, like we sat down and done goal setting, stuff like that. But I've never done the mind map and really think about that, or like a vision board or anything like that. It just seems really powerful.
It works for us, and what I like about it is rather than being goal setting, it takes your creative mind. I mean, both Mike and I are quite sort of, you know, our brains are all over the place creatively. So it takes all those ideas, and it doesn't try and control them in any specific way. And so it allows you to have some, going back to that thing about certainty that you said, it allows you to have some certainty along with a lot of uncertainty. Do you know what I mean? There's fluidity in it, and whereas if I do rigid goal setting, I then panic because it's too. Do you know, I'm panicking as to whether you know, if I haven't reached the goal, or if I get too sort of stuck on that element and too rigid. Whereas you've got that flow with it, then you're moving in the right direction always. As long as everything you do is in that direction, then that's the way you're heading.
Right. Right. And it's more, I mean, just kind of glancing at it, it's more like, is it more like who you want to be in kind of the vision, or like the, is that more accurate?
Yeah, you used the word alignment earlier, and I think that's it really. It's lining everything up. It's that congruence that that you know where you're heading, and everything is lining up behind it. So so that everything that you say or do is congruent to that vision. And I guess that's why it sort of works better for me than to be specific about the detail of the goal. I'd rather be congruent and heading in that direction and everything lined up.
Right. And how does your how does your intuition play into that? Like, how do you, if you kind of know that that's where you're going, how do you step along the way and make a decision? Well, I want to go this way. Well, I want to go that way. Like what's kind of that process for you?
Yeah. I don't think there's much decision making to be had if you do that process, because everything is lined up.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of that decision making out of the way. Do I go in this direction or that direction? I mean, the one thing that I do find difficult in terms of decision making is that there's a lot of noise out there in the internet and the media and the marketing, and then I find decisions like that quite difficult, because I don't like all the noise. I don't like to become one of the noise. It's a distraction to people that there's all this sort of, you're bombarded with stuff. So I mean, in having this sort of alignment, everything, I think everything that we do and the blogs that we do have that same value. Everything that, if you look at the blogs, it's all lining up behind that, and so I guess in my mind it means that anything we put out is of value, because because we've done the work already. So hopefully it's not noise. Hopefully it's something that's of value to somebody, because we think it's important. So somebody else should hopefully think it's important too. Yeah.
Right. I like that though. It makes a lot of sense. Like, it seems like there's so much power in that, and just getting on the same page. I mean, I think of a multitude of things, just like Think and Grow Rich, the power of the mastermind. You get a few minds together and you align it. You get, and even just in terms of a marriage or partnership, if you're on that same path, rather than going this way or that way, it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
In terms of where you're going.
Yeah, it does make a difference, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we have lots of challenges. I mean,
Sure.
we do, and we have financial challenges, and we have work challenges. Because we do several different things, we do find that we can go down different rabbit holes. Both of us will end up down different rabbit holes, trying to fix something, and we have to pull each other out and go, no, get out of that hole, and stay onto it. But luckily, because we dive down different holes, we can recognize it when the other one's gone, and we can do that, pull them out by their ears.
Right.
Right.
It's always helpful.
Yeah, it is. And so yes, there are challenges, and it can be hard work, and there's not much of a safety net, but at the same time it's really rewarding, to be doing something that you absolutely are passionate about. And that's what, when we do the mind map stuff, that's what we get. We get our passion there, about what's important.
Cool. I like that. And let me, thank you for sharing all that too, by the way, because I mean,
Yeah,
we hadn't even talked about that. It was kind of just kind of
I know.
out of nowhere. Um, and I really like it's really some great insights in that stuff. But let me kind of steer it back a little bit. So what, so going back to corporate, the corporate clients, like how do you find these clients? Like you kind of mentioned, it's just they're short term. They just, come up. Like what are you doing to attract them? Like
Okay.
what's the marketing you have, or you do referral partners, or what works for you guys?
Okay. The clients aren't short term. Their need for assessment center is short term. So we have long term clients, and
Okay.
we have two sorts of clients really. We have three sorts, um, four sorts. Okay. So we've got the direct corporates. I work with some significant large organisations, very well-known organisations in London and the UK, and also we go abroad too. We're going to Italy in July to do something with a drinks company.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have direct corporate businesses. Okay. We also work with training and sort of psychometric testing assessment development center agencies. And so we call that our route to market, if you like. So what they give us is our distribution. What they give us is their contact, but they will introduce us to their customers. So we come in as a support to them, an add-on to them. And in that scenario, we respect that we don't own that relationship with the end user. We work with them, we talk with them, we do coaching, we share training courses and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the relationship's concerned, that's owned by our distribution channel.
Okay.
And they take us into lots of different companies. So we've got some really strong relationships there. And then apart from that, we have small businesses that we work with. So we run some workshops for the smaller businesses where they can pay to come along onto a workshop. And we have one-to-one clients as well. So there's a range. And I guess everything we do, whether we're talking to a corporate or whether we're talking one-to-one, our niche is face-to-face communication. And so, if it's communicating with your family on a one-to-one basis, if somebody's sort of, they might come to us and they want coaching on how to develop their small business, but then, like you were saying earlier when we were chatting earlier, they then need some assistance because they've got some family stuff going on. So we talk about, face-to-face communication. We're talking about how they're going to have a better relationship with their family, and that comes under the sort of the banner of face-to-face communication. But it's all about really, emotionally connecting with people.
Very cool. Very cool. And how do you find these corporate clients? I mean, I can kind of see the route with like the distributors, and so you've built up those relationships. I'm familiar with that a little bit. Like I worked for Corning and doing fiber optic sales, and we kind of sold through that model. We really didn't sell direct, so we would sometimes work with the end user, and sometimes we had several distributor customers, and they would take us into a project, or we'd work with a contractor. So it's you get this huge model of where the relationships are, and you have to honor and respect those a lot of times.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah, because it's important, because they'll, that you damage that could damage a lot of business down the line. But how did you begin to develop these relationships to begin with, and then how do you find new business from that now?
Yeah, it is a challenge. Don't get me wrong. I find it more of a challenge today than it used to be. The most of our business is word of mouth and networking. So people will pass our details on to somebody else. And that's really cool when it happens, because they ring us up
Absolutely.
saying, I've heard you're great. So, I mean, most of our effort is in making sure that our customers are so delighted that they will want to pass on our information, and that they think that we're that cool that we're worth working with. So a lot of our focus is there on looking, really, really caring for the customers that we have, and developing those relationships, and protecting them. As I say, then there's networking, and our customers come through that. And then there's, I mean, we from time to time we've done sort of direct marketing where we'll do mail outs, and we've had customers from there. And we work on LinkedIn as well, joining groups and being, responding to where relevant, not just being a noise, but responding with relevant information within groups.
Right.
And just sort of, and then making contact with people that we think we've got something that will help them, and taking it from there. It is a challenge, and I think it's changed quite dramatically fairly recently. I think it has become, there's the bigger corporates have got, these great procurement processes and all that kind of jazz, and they will sort of try and fob you off with that fairly quickly. That we've got to go through all this stuff, but actually, with the smaller stuff that we do, we're not selling in loads and loads of equipment and things. We're quite small fry, and actually, they don't need to go through all those processes. And it's just sort of knowing how confident you are with just having those discussions, I guess. But it is a challenge. It's the biggest challenge we have, is new business.
Right. And so I find this interesting. I mean, a lot of this is just the advent of social media, right? So it's like it's changed this environment completely, and it sounds like you're adapting a little bit. And with LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a little bit. I haven't nearly used as much as Facebook, but I've seen kind of that same strategy employed. I've employed that in my business and been really successful with it. Just joining groups where your target lives, and finding discussions and joining in on discussions, and without even really prospecting too much, people just come to you and say, "Hey, I saw you said this.
Yes.
Can you help me?" Is that kind of what you're seeing in the LinkedIn side too?
Yeah, and that's the value of a well-placed comment. You don't want to just be there as a noise. A well-placed, well-thought-out, relevant, useful comment, and then people will respond to you and say, "Hey, that was great," and then they start to connect, and that seems to me to be, and it's more, it works. It's more comfortable to me to do that, because I like to have relationships, develop relationships, and so for me that's more congruent, and it's more authentic and comfortable.
Right. It's getting away from the old model of, I'm going to build a list of 50,000 people, and I hate it when I hear people in the marketing world say they're going to blast their list. Like, you're not going to blast them. Like, you're having communication with them. Like, it's a relationship, right? Like, you want to talk with them. There should be something going on with that. It's interesting though. It makes me think about I commented on some friend's post here. I hope he's not listening. He put up a website, and he's like, "I did this in 10 minutes, and look at it," and it was really bad. And I just posted, I was like, "Call me, period, please, period, do not do this to your business." And from that little, I mean, that wasn't really a value post, but from that one little post, like 2 people contacted me.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, it was just kind of random.
Oh, that's good.
But it's there's so many weird things that come out of social media.
That. I had I was
so
on.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I was on LinkedIn the other day, and somebody put it. The one thing that irritates me actually on LinkedIn, somebody put a question up, and the question was very much a leading question, And I hadn't looked. I was stupid. I hadn't looked at his profile, but it was about something I knew something about. It was about another one of these tests that you can do, sort of personality test thing. And he put this thing up saying, what do you know about it, and do you think it's a good thing? And I wrote a comment on it, and then I looked at his profile, having written a comment, and he was selling that product, and I just thought, and I deleted my comment. And what actually I got back from him, I deleted mine, but I think they must hang around for a while if your screen doesn't refresh, because I got a response from him about an hour after I deleted my comment. And it just went into this, it was a huge piece of text with things in capitals. And it was as if he was sitting there shouting at me to, and I think that you will see that this is the best thing since sliced bread, and and you should look at it now, and I just thought, no matter how many tests of personality you can have, it's not, it's actually, you've got to learn how to communicate with people.
Right.
You can't just shout, you can't just ram it down people's throats. And to open up a question about something that you're clearly trying to sell is a manipulation, and it's not authentic. It's not an authentic and comfortable discussion. So yeah, that was quite interesting, and a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah, it's really not developing a conversation either, because I think that's really what social media is. Social media is just this big conversation. It's just like you're teaching face-to-face communication, those same skills probably apply in the in the social media world too. I mean, do you find that? Do you find that happens?
I think it's all the same. Communication is the same, isn't it? And you communicate differently with a dog, your pet dog, than you would with a professor. You have to use the right level of communication to connect with different people. And it's the same whether it's on the written form. You can't just shout at someone and say, because they haven't agreed with something necessarily, you can't just sort of shout at them with capital letters. You have to, it's the same. You still have to go through the process of saying, oh, why do you think that? And, let me understand. It's all about trying to understand someone else rather than trying to, bang your drum, I think.
Right. It's better to understand than to try to be understood, or something like that. Is that?
Yes, that's the old adage, and it is so true. You have no influence over anyone else, do you, unless you understand them.
Right.
So I think the same manners and the same respect applies on social media. But sometimes I think it's like, sorry, that's my dog. Chasing birds. It's like people in a car, they think that because they're in the car they can beat the horn and shout and be rude to people. And it's the same, just because you're behind a computer screen, it doesn't mean that you lose your respect for the other person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people that do that. They hide behind their computer and type nastiness and. Yeah.
Gosh, we've got off track.
I know this is really off tangent. Sorry, but it kind of ties into what you're talking about though with the communication realm. Like it seems relevant simply because the idea behind communication and influence and building relationships are at the core of really what business is and what human interaction is all around.
Yeah, and no matter how technical business has become, and no matter how process-driven business has become, people aren't widgets. People are people. They're living, breathing human beings with a heart and a soul, and that comes first. That absolutely comes first, and that's our belief that no matter how high up or how important or how clever or how much budget they have or don't have, they're a human being, and that's the first. That's the first hurdle. You've got to be able talk to them and connect with them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, very
Yeah,
fascinating. Very fascinating.
yeah, I mean, you're interviewing me right now, and you could go through the process. You could, and I'm sure you've seen it done with, where people go through the process and they have their list of questions on their clipboard and they ask the questions. But there's no connection between the two parties, which is not what's happening here. We're properly engaging and having a conversation and learning stuff from each other, and that's the nature of humanity, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I look at that. I mean, from an interviewer's standpoint. I mean, I prep for the interview and I try to have those questions, like you're saying, ready. That's my homework before. But then during this process, like, I just want to connect and engage. I want to be present. And then where that steers from there, it goes, right?
Well, that's where the magic happens, isn't it?
That's where the magic happens. Because then you're in the moment, and then you're engaged, and it's what happens from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know your curriculum. I don't know your curriculum. Is this what you teach in the face-to-face program? Is that kind of, are those the types of skills that you're showing to people, or when you're role playing?
Yeah, yeah. Because what happens in a business context, there is a tendency for people to put a mask on. Not in role play. I'm just talking in business. When people are working in business, they think, "Oh, I'm the salesperson," so they put this is what I think a salesperson looks like or does, or they put the customer. Yeah, they do, or they put the customer mask on and go, "Oh, I've got to be like this," and what happens is it removes you from that connection, and it's not helpful to getting a really useful solution together. To put on any mask in corporate world or even at socially, to try and pretend you're something else makes it really awkward, makes it very difficult, and it leaks out of you that you're not comfortable. That the incongruence of it leaks. It leaks through your physicality. It leaks through the use of words, and it's just not comfortable. And so the coaching that we do is about, we don't, the work that we do is not about how to process a meeting, because they get a lot of that technical side, and you do need to have a process. Of course you need to have a process. Otherwise it wouldn't go anywhere. You just go around in circles.
Right.
The process matters. But where we come in is to say, yes, you've got that process, but let's look at how you can really make it work for you, and not turn you into some sort of bolted on monster, but make you into being yourself, and that's when you can have those really good conversations.
How do you do that? I mean, how do you start chipping away at that mask? Because it's so ingrained, and that's to break through that. You've got layers and layers of programming that people have put up. I mean, how do you start chipping away at that?
Yeah, well, one of the challenges we have is that we don't have them for very long. Often the work that we do, we have them for a short period of time, really. And I think it's something that companies should invest more in. Is this getting yourself aligned first, getting yourself aligned with the organization, with the organizational values, getting comfortable with that, making sure that you can find a way to make your values work with the organizational values. Just getting comfortable with being who you are in the context of the business environment. And I think it's what companies, not all companies, but I think it's something that companies could do more of, because they are very used to delivering process and do it really well. There's lots of training about process, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's really not. But just to get all that alignment, so that a bit like that mind map thing I showed you about having the vision.
Right.
You know, and it's a bit like saying, well, this is the company vision, and how does that work with you, and where are the all values, and how does that work with their values, and how does that all fit together? And then you've got an authentic whole, you know. So each individual has that authenticity that's theirs within the context of their work, and that's something that I'm pretty passionate about, and makes a big difference. So when we're doing,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so when we're doing our work on you know, presentation or personal impact or whatever, it's more about, it's not about being charismatic per se. It's about being you, and then when you are you, you become more charismatic.
That's powerful. It's very powerful. I was going to say that there's companies like Zappos. Zappos was the one that came to mind for me. It was like how they have a whole like culture book that they have for their employees, that everybody writes. You know, they have their values, but then they write like what do the values mean to me? And I mean, do you take people through exercises like that where they you know, you align them with the corporate values and the corporate structure?
Yeah, I mean, that's really powerful when we get the opportunity to do that, and that takes a little bit of time. But when you've got the opportunity to do that, that's hugely powerful.
How do you show a company, or how do you demonstrate to a company that's valuable, like that they need to do a process like that?
Again, that's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Well, it's the challenge. What we find is it comes about more through a tactical. We tend to come in at a tactical level, and so we have moments where we can do this. So we might be there involved in some training, which is specifically, you know, negotiation training, for instance. And you get into discussions around it from there, and that's what I said. My biggest, I guess, desire would be to have more time with people, and that's something you know, we would want to promote more for our business, is to have more time with people, to create that, because it makes such a difference when you do it. It makes all the difference. It makes all the other learning that companies have a reason to exist, or have that real purpose. People are switched on, ready for that learning then, in a way, because I mean, you know, with corporates, they go to training courses and sort of say, oh, I'm sent on this training course, and there's a lot of that happens in industry, is that, you know, there are these training courses, they kind of turn up and they're going because they've been told they've got to go on it. And the courses are often really excellent courses, and they warm up to it, and they get, you know, they kind of get it after a while. But if you can switch them on in terms of all this alignment to start with, people then are really motivated to go on these courses, because they go, yeah, that works for me, and it just sort of shapes everything.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's totally cool. That's totally cool. Thank you for. I mean, you've imparted so much information to me, and I hope, you know, folks watching get the value from what you're talking about, because it's really crucial. I mean, you're working on such a fundamental level of just human interaction and alignment of values and all the stuff that we start to miss, you know, at different levels. We don't have that base. There's only so far the company can grow. Is there anything? I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, and I don't want to keep you, you know, much longer than that. And if we can open up the questions, if there's anybody that has any questions, they can just put in the little chat box, and we'll be happy to answer them. But is there any, or at least attempt to answer them? Is there anything that, you know, you think people need to know, like anything that that we missed or we didn't talk about, we didn't hit on, that you'd like to tell people about?
I would say if you are a coach and you are growing your business, and whatever your niche is, I would say find a niche. We have over the years gone, oh, is it this, is it that, and I've dabbled in different things, but we keep coming back to this. For us, it is face-to-face communication. Now that's a niche, but it's actually also huge. But that is our niche, and I would urge any coach to make sure that they find whatever their niche is, that they can have a conversation with whoever they want to, and they can be really strong in their knowledge of their subject. And then the other thing I would say is, as we've been discussing today, is lining everything up in terms of what your vision is and what that looks like to you, in terms of your values, in terms of where it's going to take you, what you want to give to other people, and just get it down. And don't put it, the mind map idea is brilliant because you're not going to be held to achieving things in any order, because things might come in a different order, and if it's in a mind map, you're free with that. Whereas if it's if you put it in a list, you kind of freak out if something happens before something else, or something doesn't happen. So yeah, be creative, because that opens up your mind to being really flexible and sort of athletic, mentally athletic, I would say, and that's something that we try to be, is sort of mentally athletic. Ready to go, but in any direction. Trademark it. I don't think it's a new idea. But there you go. But yeah, I row, and so in rowing we have a rowing coach. We're not Olympians. I'm only 5'4". I'm never going to be an Olympian. But we still have a coach, and the coach is the one that's giving us that vision. And you need a coach. You need a coach in your life. You need a coach in your work, because you'll get there faster if you've got one.
Are you under coaching now? Do you use coaches in your life to help you grow your business? And yeah.
Yeah, I don't have one.
How has that impacted you?
I go to people whenever I get stuck straight away. First thing I do is I either go to because my husband's a coach, so I either go to him. But if it's something that's kind of we're both in, I go to a coach straight away and say, this is really doing my head in. I can't think my way out of it, because there are times where if something is not going to work in your head, you can think it as much as you like. It's not going to work. You need that objectivity. So I've been writing a book. I've got a mentor, a book writing mentor for that. Because I don't know about writing books. So rather than me sit there for hours pulling my hair out and saying, why is this not working, I go, Tom, and over to Tom Evans, and he's fantastic. So yeah, it's horses for courses. You have different people, and I choose to use different people for different things. I had a really good session with, Frederick Pierce?
Yes.
Yeah. I had a great session with him the other day, and it got me out of. Him? Did I talk with him? Have you talked with him,
or was it just via email?
It was via email, yeah. Yeah, that's how he does it.
I had yet to talk to him.
He's awesome. He is awesome. So yeah, choose different people for different means. Right. And choose if you want someone who can help you get your coaching business off the ground, you know, you wouldn't go to me. That's not what I do. I do face-to-face communication. So you go to the coach that
Right.
that does what you want to do.
Yeah. No, that's totally good advice. Like I think of times in my life when I did something that was successful. I generally had a coach or a mentor who was on the outside looking in, and times when I did something that it was let's just call it a learning experience. I did not have a coach or a mentor in that situation.
Yeah.
But no, cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for everything, and thank you for joining me today. How can, if people want to find out more information about you, where do they go, or what's the project that you're working on now? Is there something that people are going to be interested in that you can direct them to? What do you have going on?
Well, as I say, I've written a book, and that's with Tom at the moment. So hopefully in August that will be completed and out. So nothing at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, go and look at our blog is probably the best thing. I do put quite a lot on the blog, and that's at www.theperformance.biz, performance.biz.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean there's quite a lot of
on
information. Sorry?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's got broken up a bit there. So yeah, I mean there's
okay,
quite a lot of information.
It's the time delay.
It doesn't seem to show when I'm doing all the talking, but now we're talking to each other. It's obvious it's there.
So you're saying the performance.biz.
Yes.
What you said there was on the blog? There's a lot of info there. What else?
No, just go there. Just go there. I mean that's the blog there.
Okay.
And any of the pages there. Just take a look. I can't hear.
So what I'll do is I'll put that link on the replay page. I'll put that at the bottom of the YouTube page, so that'll be available for people if they want to go to your website. For anybody who's watching this on YouTube and the replay rather than watching it live. Very cool. So anything else?
No. Thank you for having me. It's the first time I've ever done this, so yeah. Thanks for being gentle with me.
No, you were awesome. You were awesome. No, you did great.
Thank you.
There's a lot of really cool stuff, and let me know. Let's stay in touch when when it comes time to launch your book. Let's do another interview, and we can we can chat about your book.
Good.
Yeah, I'd love to. You can send me a copy, and I can read it beforehand.
I will. I'll make sure you have a copy.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much, Josh. It's
Thank
been
you,
a real
Lucy.
pleasure. Yeah,
yes,
good stuff.
Me too. So stay in here. We'll have a little chat afterwards and see if anybody stays around. But
okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.